What if I told you that one simple phrase, spoken at the right moment, can dismantle the weight of your biggest problem? Not reduce it, not manage it, delete it. This is not about magic words or empty repetition. This is about alignment with a truth so powerful that when it is spoken with understanding, faith, and surrender, it shifts reality itself. The phrase is simple, almost too simple to be taken seriously, and that is exactly why most people overlook it. Not my will, but yours be done. At first glance, it sounds like surrender, like giving up control, like losing. But in the kingdom of God, surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of power. To understand this, we begin in a quiet, heavy place, the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus, knowing what was ahead, fell to the ground in deep anguish. The weight of the cross, the suffering, the separation, it all pressed on him. In Luke 22:42, he prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." In that moment, he did not deny the pain. He did not pretend everything was easy. He expressed his desire honestly, but then he aligned himself with the will of the Father. And something profound happened. The problem did not immediately disappear, but the power to overcome it was released. Verse 43 tells us that an angel appeared to strengthen him. Strength came after surrender. The lesson is clear. When you stop fighting God's will and align with it, you receive the strength to overcome what once felt impossible. Think about your own life for a moment. How many battles are you fighting that are draining you, not because they are too big, but because you are carrying them alone? What would happen if instead of forcing your own outcome, you released control and said, "God, I trust your way more than mine"? If this resonates, you can share your thoughts in the comments as you reflect on it. Now let's move to another story, one that begins with confusion, fear, and uncertainty. Abraham stood on a mountain with his son Isaac, the very promise God had given him. In Genesis 22, God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. It was a command that did not make logical sense. It challenged everything Abraham believed about God's promise. Yet Abraham obeyed. As he raised the knife, fully surrendered to God's will, something extraordinary happened. God stopped him and provided a ram instead. The problem was never about losing Isaac. It was about proving trust. Genesis 22:12 says, "Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Here is the deeper truth. The moment Abraham surrendered what he loved most, he positioned himself for divine provision. The phrase, "not my will, but yours," in action opened the door for God's intervention. In your life, what are you holding onto so tightly that it is blocking God's provision? Is it a plan, a relationship, a timeline, or an expectation? Sometimes the very thing you are trying to protect is the thing God is asking you to release so he can replace it with something greater. Now consider Joseph, a man who faced betrayal, false accusation, and years of waiting. In Genesis 37-50, Joseph's journey is marked by injustice. Sold by his brothers, imprisoned for a crime he did not commit, forgotten by those he helped. Yet through it all, Joseph remained aligned with God's will. When he finally stood before his brothers years later, he said something remarkable in Genesis 50:20. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph's power was not in controlling his circumstances. It was in trusting God's purpose through them. That is what "not my will, but yours" looks like over time. It transforms pain into purpose. Think about that carefully. What if the problem you are trying to escape is actually part of the process that is preparing you? What if the delay is not denial, but development? There is a quiet strength in surrender that the world does not understand. It does not look impressive at first. It looks like patience, like restraint, like obedience in small things. But over time, it builds a kind of authority that cannot be shaken. Even in the story of Daniel, we see this principle again. In Daniel 6, He was thrown into the lion's den for refusing to compromise his devotion to God. Daniel did not try to manipulate the situation. He simply remained faithful. His life was already surrendered to God's will. And in that place of danger, God shut the mouths of the lions. Daniel 6:22 says, "My God sent his angel and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me." The pattern repeats. Surrender leads to divine intervention. Now here is where it becomes personal. This phrase, "not my will but yours be done," is not about losing your voice. It is about aligning your voice with God's purpose. It is not passive. It is deeply intentional. It requires trust, humility, and courage. Because let's be honest, surrender is difficult. It means letting go of outcomes you have planned in your mind. It means trusting a path you cannot fully see. It means believing that God's wisdom is greater than your understanding. But here is the promise. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Submission is the key. Direction is the reward. Imagine facing your biggest problem right now, not with fear, not with anxiety, but with a quiet confidence that says, "God, I give this to you. Not my will, but yours be done." That moment shifts something internally. It moves you from striving to trusting, from pressure to peace. And often, the problem begins to lose its power over you. Sometimes God removes the problem. Sometimes he transforms it. Sometimes he uses it. But in every case, surrender positions you for something greater than control ever could. So here is a question to sit with. What is your cup right now? What is the situation you wish would disappear? And are you willing to trust God with it, even if the outcome looks different from what you expect? You do not have to answer immediately, but be honest with yourself. Because the single phrase that deletes your biggest problem is not about changing the situation first. It is about changing your alignment. And once alignment is established, everything else begins to shift. As you go forward, try this in a real moment of pressure. Pause, breathe, and say it with intention, not as a routine, but as a decision. Not my will, but yours be done. Let it settle in your spirit. Let it guide your actions. Let it shape your response. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to reflect on what you are holding on to. You can share your thoughts or experiences in the comments, because someone else might be encouraged by your journey. Share this video with someone who needs strength right now, and continue watching the next video in this series to deepen your understanding of how to walk in true spiritual authority. Because sometimes, the greatest power is not in holding on, but in letting go. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. God bless you.